Howdy, guys, and welcome to the post-season cast assessment for Big Brother Season 24, and welcome to Cliff Notes. We had the finale. Taylor has won not only the title, but also America's favorite house guest. But I couldn't shut down this season of Big Brother without doing one more episode. And this is looking at every player and assessing their game not based on how well they played or didn't play. There are a lot of people doing that right now. No, I wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to go back all the way to before they even went into the house, look at their preseason interviews, look at how they said they were going to play the game, my first impressions of them, and I actually did a prediction on how each single one of them would place. In fact, if you go back through the playlist, you'll see that as the very first episode, the preseason cast assessment. Now I want to follow back up and see how close I was and how close they were to how the game actually played out. It's tough when you're working on nothing but a picture and a couple of minutes of conversation to try to select these people. So I just thought it'd be fun to see who I figured out correctly, who I completely got wrong. And there's a little bit of both of them. So with that in mind, let's get right into it. I figured the easiest way, for clarity's sake, is to start with the very first evictee, or at least the first person who left the house. Start with the very first one and go all the way down to the very bottom. And it's just a fun little episode to finish up this season of Big Brother 24. So with that being said, let's get right into it. My first guest to talk about, house guest to talk about, not even evicted, left the house a little bit early. Paloma, the youngest house guest in the house. Reading her interview, watching her interview, she talked about that people would consider her ditzy. Well, yeah, a little bit. It turned out that way. Although I think there's just a lot of stress that overwhelmed her, and it was difficult. But yeah, she thought she'd be considered a little ditzy. She didn't want to work with two-faced people or manipulators. Paloma, for as short a time period as she spent in the house, certainly seemed to be doing a bit of manipulating herself, right? I guess she figured the Big Brother house there was only one room for one manipulator, because she certainly was guilty of that a little bit. She didn't want to work with manipulators, though. She thought that people maybe wouldn't be able to read her very well and wouldn't like her as a result. It was such a short stay. I'll leave that one a little unsettled, not real sure. It didn't seem like she'd watched much Big Brother. We kind of noticed that when she was talking about working deals, investing in people, sharing the wealth and all that when we got done. I did say that she had some showmance potential. As quick as she left, we never got to see whether that was the case or not. But if she'd stayed a little bit longer, I think there would have been a showmance or two. I think she was certainly open for it. So Paloma, my prediction for Paloma based on that interview, her picture, I said early jury. Yeah, didn't get that one right. She left a little bit early than early jury. Now, if she hadn't self-evicted, well, who knows what would happen, but we still got to call that one a miss. The next house guest to talk about, Pooch. Yes, Pooch. I said he looked like Tommy Bracco. He reminded me of Tommy Bracco. Well, Tommy lasted a little bit longer than Pooch did. Pooch had described himself as laid back. He was saying that he wanted to work with level-headed people. I kind of see that. I mean, he was trying to set up alliances and working with people that he felt were very similar to him. He said he wanted to be a trustworthy person and just be himself. Yeah, I'm going to say that's pretty much what he did. Pooch was Pooch in there. And I don't feel like he kind of did the Pooch and offering to put himself up. But yeah, I do feel like to some degree, as much as you can, Big Brother, he's trying to be trustworthy. He certainly was being himself. I thought he had some showman's potential. We shall never know, because he went out as a second house guest. My prediction. All right. Did I tell you that I get some of these right? Some of them not so much. All right. This is the one I completely had my own Pooch moment, because I predicted that Pooch would make it to the final five. Big ol' X on that one. Thinking Family Feud there. Yeah. Did not get Pooch correctly. I thought he was going to go much longer in the game. You let me down, Pooch, but yeah, you were yourself. You were quite the character. A whole new vernacular of Big Brother. From now on, are you going to Pooch yourself? Yeah, there you go. So, all right, we've got Pooch. All right, number 3 house guest, Amira. So what did Amira describe herself as? What did I see in Amira? She said she was very straightforward, whether good or bad. Yeah, I kind of see that in her. She did not like Alliance two timers. Well, she kind of had a lot of the people she was working with flip on her and send her out. So yeah, she especially probably doesn't like the two timers now. I didn't have a whole lot of Amira. She didn't do a whole lot of talking. I had no idea at the time that she was going to be as short as her stay was. I feel like she was a smart player, a little too cocky and arrogant, considering that she at one point said this game is too easy. I never thought it was going to be this easy. I think it was about the day before she got sent out of the house. But yeah, Amira, I called Amira to finish up as pre-jury. All right, I got one right. Even yeah, all of us get some right here or there. But yeah, I did get Amira right. Just didn't think she was going to interact with everyone else quite as much as she needed to last longer. And as it turns out, I'm not sure that's the reason she got voted out. I think it's because she presented herself as such a threat to everyone else. All right, next competition, next house guest to talk about Nicole. All right, so what did I see in Nicole when I was looking at her interview and her picture? She sounded like she was going to be a huge comp beast. She's a former cop, seemed like she was in fantastic physical condition. So I thought she'd be a comp beast. A cop, I think being a cop misled me. I was picturing Derek as a reincarnation of Derek playing this game. Not so much with Nicole. So how did she describe herself? She said she didn't want to work with floaters. I kind of see that. Nicole wanted to have her loyal folks and wanted to absolutely be able to depend on them. Her downfall was that she was too trusting of the people she was working with. So I think her own biases came into play in the game, because she said she didn't want to work with floaters. And then I personally, I felt that she was going to place too much value on loyalty and integrity. And as a result, I didn't think she could take to the very end. And I do think that's what did her in. She didn't think that people were going to turn on her. She sure didn't think she's going to go home with her bestie, her road rogue or whatever, making the decision to not use veto and have it happen the way they aim. So Nicole, yeah, I think she's guilty of exactly what I expected. Now, here's the thing. Even with all of that, I think being a comp beast made me think she would be able to get a little bit further down the road. She went home pre-jury. I called her as making it to final five. Yeah, I'm not starting off strong, but it gets better. Yeah, I thought Nicole was going to go up to the very end. Did not happen. All right, next house guest, her partner in crime, Daniel Durston. Yeah, our Elvis impersonator. We didn't see a single Elvis impersonation while he was in that house. Kind of disappointing, but maybe that's a good thing. But yeah, Daniel had talked about that he did not want to work with big alpha males. I think he proved that up during the season. He really did want to work more with the women. He when he felt forced to, he kind of started making some gestures to the other guys and all. But yeah, I think he was absolutely telling the truth, saying he didn't want to work with the big alpha males. That he thought that his type of humor might get him in trouble. Well, maybe it's not so much his sense of humor that got him in trouble inside the house as much as some of his sense of get a little short tempered at times. But yeah, he did have a sense of humor that I could see how people could either appreciate it or especially not appreciate it. But he was a huge Big Brother super fan. And as a result of that, and just him approaching the game a little differently, not working with the big alpha males and all that, I predicted Daniel to finish as final five again. Yeah, yeah. I should have started the other direction, because this isn't looking good for old Boss Hog. But there you go. I'll own up to it. And that's why it's so unfair to make all these assumptions based on such short interviews and pictures and everything else. People made all kinds of assumptions about me before I started the season. I like to think I proved them wrong in a whole bunch of them, but obviously I got a lot wrong as well. All right, next house guest that we need to talk about, Indy. Oh, Indy was it turns out to be such a joy in the house, just because there was a little bit of a don't give a darn attitude about her. She had described herself as very straightforward, and was a little afraid that would get her in trouble. Yeah, all right. There's straightforward as she could possibly be. She sometimes said very much what she was thinking without necessarily always thinking about the consequences for good or bad. Very, very straightforward. She also was saying that she did not like lazy people. Well, yeah, I think I get that as well. Good thing she wasn't in the house a little bit longer when everyone was sleeping all day long. It would have driven her crazy with that and some of the chores and everything else. I, Indy not only was straightforward in the house, but she was very straightforward in this interview. She's spot on the way she described herself. She didn't have a lot of knowledge of Big Brother, was my impression, and I agree with that. At least not Big Brother USA, Big Brother Brazil. Indy, if you go on Big Brother Brazil, I'm going to learn Portuguese just so I can watch and cheer you on. I did mention that maybe there was a little bit of a showman's potential, but I just didn't think that she was going to stick around long enough for it to happen. Yeah, it could have been Joseph. It could have been if she'd had a little more time. I certainly think she was infatuation. Is that a good word to throw out? No, who knows? But it doesn't matter. I called Indy going out pre-jury. I missed it by one because she was the first member of our jury, but I did kind of say that she was going to be the very first person out. Yeah, I thought she was going to be the one that was going to alienate the whole rest of the house because she was so straightforward. She lasted a little bit longer than I expected. All right, next house guest to talk about. Now, I thought this one was kind of funny. Jasmine Davis. Here's what else is funny. I'm so used to calling them by their first names or by their nicknames, whatever. But when I did this cast assessment, we got full names out of it. So Jasmine Davis. Now, here's what I put down about Jasmine and her interview was this is not a woman with a whole lot of words. She just didn't say a whole lot in her interview itself. Well, how different was she inside the house? Jasmine, one of the people never at a loss for words. She had a way about the language that she used, right? But her interview, completely different Jasmine that we saw at that point in time. She also mentioned that she wanted to partner with the underdogs. She wanted to avoid the jocks. Yeah, she kind of avoided the jocks. Although having said that, she was happy to work with Joseph and would have continued to work with that particular jock as long as possible. Partnering with underdogs, no, I get the impression that Jasmine always wanted to be in the dominant alliance, did not want to be with the underdog. She wanted to be with the in crowd is what I see of Jasmine. So as much as Indy was very straightforward and played exactly the way she described their interview, I feel like Jasmine did a 180-degree difference from the way she maybe portrayed herself. Now, I don't know that that was intentional. You just get into the house and you sometimes a little different than how you think you're going to play the game. But yeah, Jasmine, a little different the interview than what we actually saw in the house. Oh, Jasmine, I gave her a hard time during the season, but there's so many moments. Muffin Gate, there's even her sprained ankle, as much as we picked on her for that, there's a lot of things that Jasmine did this season that made for this season. So yeah, props to you, Jasmine. As far as predictions, I had predicted Jasmine to be pre-jury. Yeah, I missed that one as well. Yeah, trust me, it gets better. All right, next one up. Marvin. Who's Marvin? Where did Marvin come from? Yeah, when I did the cast assessment, we didn't know that Joseph was coming into the house to replace Marvin, who apparently had a little bit of conflict with ABC and America's Got Talent. So we'll just leave it at that. Now, the prediction for Marvin that I'll go ahead and apply to Joseph instead, prediction was early jury. Well, that's where Joseph showed up. So I'm going to call out a win for me because I need a few wins. So yeah, Marvin, we didn't get to see. I don't know if we'll see Marvin at some point in a future season. Probably not. This guy had muscles like this. He would have been an interesting character to watch play the game. He was also a chemical engineer. I'm curious to see how he and Monty would have interacted, being that Monty was a mechanical engineer and all that. We'll never know. But yeah, Marvin, I called out / Joseph going early jury. All right, our next house guest to discuss, Kyle. Oh, Kyle, bet you didn't expect this season to go quite the way it ended up going, did you? He said he wanted to avoid conflicts. Well, didn't quite go the way you expected, did it? He wanted to avoid conflicts, and he wanted to avoid type A dominant type people. I think Kyle was pretty dominant in this game himself, right? He if not for all the issues that happened that ended up getting him booted, he was doing well in the game. He was winning some challenges. I felt like he had people that trusted him. He was making some decisions. Now, not always decisions everyone else wanted. He had a mind of his own, even things like protecting Alyssa and not using using the veto or not using the veto. There's some things that he did on his own. I thought Kyle was playing a pretty good game. He just got caught up in that whole controversy. He talked about in his interview that he wanted to use humor to diffuse situations. That he was, my impression watching him was he was a very much a kind of a goofy guy. And my prediction was early jury. Yeah, that's pretty much where Kyle ended up. I did not count on him as being showman's potential. I thought he would not really be interested in that. Yeah, turns out he was. I'm really curious to see how much that affected his game. Would he have stayed longer? I don't know. Would the showmans have had any effect on all the controversy that happened, or were they so independent of each other? And he still would have ended up exactly as he did. I don't know, but I had him called out for early jury. All right. Let's talk about the older house guest of this house, Terrence Higgins, the oldest player. Paloma was the youngest. Terrence was the oldest. Special spot in my heart going in for Terrence because I know what it's like to be the old guy in there. Terrence was saying that he was going to play the funny, the sarcastic, the life of the party. I think he tried. I just don't know that he quite made the connection with the rest of the house guests that let him be the life of the party. I just think there were a few too many times where people maybe were kind of behind his back laughing at him as opposed to laughing with him. And he tried. He's a fun guy. I enjoyed watching him putting on the 182 tattoos he had to put on. And he certainly was willing to play the game and play along at times and everything. But he tried to be the life of the party. Not sure he quite achieved that particular goal. He was worried that people wouldn't like his alpha vibe. Here's Terrence's issue. I do think, because even when he did have power, I feel like he was trying to run some game and try to set up some things happening. But because other than that one veto and HOH, but it was during Dire Fest, which was a very unique situation. Other than that, Terrence just didn't win the competitions that allowed him to maybe exert as much power as he did want to exert. So we didn't really see the that alpha vibe that he described come into force as much as maybe he had wanted it to be. He said he did not like people who don't stick to plans. I kind of see that. I think even his sticking by wanting to keep Kyle even after all of this had happened. Terrence seemed very much like he was focused on sticking to some plans and some ideas and having a certain loyalty and all that. So yeah, I kind of see that side of him. I had called out Terrence. I hate to do it to the older guy, but I actually called Terrence out going out pre-jury. He did much better than that. He lasted halfway through the game. So congrats. What did he finish? 7th place, if I recall. So congrats to Terrence for doing better than I thought, for doing what you could as the older guy in the house, but didn't quite go the way he wanted at the end. Michael. All right. Michael had described himself as a super fan. That he was. Absolutely. He said he was going to be playing the nerd. I don't know how much it was playing and how much of it just, I remember talking during the early part of the season that he just seemed a little socially awkward coming in, talking to people and trying to hang out. It took him a while to warm up to everyone else. It took a while for everyone to warm up to him. Winning a few competitions certainly helped. Suddenly everyone wanted to be Michael's friend once he started to win a few of those competitions. And I think winning those gave him a lot of self-confidence that otherwise would have been tough. He was on the block week number 1. We'll talk about Taylor and all that, but what a story arc for Michael. The way he started, I didn't think he really was going to go anywhere with it. And yet here he is booted because he is probably the biggest threat of the entire game. He was worried that he would come across as too intense. I didn't really see that on Michael. He did a good job of holding back on that particular aspect of his character. He said he didn't want to work with people who wouldn't stick their neck out for their alliance. He was such a dominant character in this season. A lot of people within his alliance did not have to stick their neck out because he was winning so many competitions and protecting them. Now, I do remember at one point some discussion from him and Brittany talking about some of the other players saying, well, we're doing all the work and they're just kind of riding along. And, maybe it's not always so fair that we're doing as much as we are. So I see that in some of the conversations that Michael had while he was in the house. So he was pretty spot on with some of his descriptions as well. I had predicted for Michael pre-jury. So I got that one right. Now I thought it would be just that he wouldn't mesh well enough with everyone else that would send him out the door. As it turns out, it's because he was such a huge threat that he got sent home when he did. All right, so with that, we get to the final five. The final five house guests. How did they do? How did I look at them going in? Well, number 5, Alyssa Snyder. Alyssa. She was saying that she thought people would underestimate her as a young, bubbly girl. Well, she was portrayed. She did very much fill the role of the young, bubbly girl. Was that underestimating her? Yeah, maybe not so much. It seems like kind of spot on to the way she played the game in the house. So that very much she thought she knew how she'd be portrayed, and she was. All right, she said she didn't like loud, obnoxious players. There are a lot of loud people inside the Big Brother house. She did say that she had watched every season or acted as though she had watched every season. I thought she would do well because of that. I really thought that her background in Big Brother would help. I also thought of all the house guests in the house, she maybe had the most showmance potential of anyone. And so I called out that, I think she'll be in a showmance as part of the season. Well, I got that one right? Between knowing the game and having the ability to be in a showmance, get some protection because of that, I called her out as finishing in the top 5. In fact, finishing up at number 5, which is exactly where she landed. So, that was pretty good on that one. All right, number 4, Brittany Hoops. The big thing I noticed from her interview is the fact that she leaned in right like this, kind of like that. Who would have thought crazy eyes would be mentioned as part of Zingbot's little zings to her? I remember she was down there when she was going to not tell him that she was a hypnotherapist, and she just couldn't help herself. No, she didn't say it until the very end, but she certainly did enough meditation sessions and everything else that no one was surprised when she revealed that little secret. The fact that she said that she was a super fan, that she had 40 plus pages of notes on every strategy that she wanted to play in the house, that made me worry that she was going to overplay the game, that she was going to be too intense, that she was going to try to do too much, too fast. And I think I got that one pretty much right. I think Brittany was guilty of just trying to make one deal too many, a few too many weeks. And as a result, she lost the trust of other people in the house. And eventually it did her in. That and losing her ride or die in Michael. But I do think she probably overplayed a little bit, and she paid the price at the end. My prediction for Brittany, pre-jury. I got that one a little incorrect, but that's okay. All right, next up, Turner. Turner had said he wanted to portray himself as an artistic floater who's just a little bit lost. I think he played that role perfectly, right? How shocked are you going to be? Am I going to be if now that he's outside of the house, Turner is a completely different persona, suit and tie businessman working in that rug shack, and we're going to find out that he's just a straight and narrow business capitalist type person. I don't think that's the case, but he did say he's going to portray himself as a floater, a bit lost, and I think people kind of treated him as such inside the house to some degree. Now, he won comps, so it's not that people didn't respect his game, but he was Turner, the laid-back guy a lot of times. He was saying he didn't like alpha types, but also realized that they could help him in his game. Well, here you go. He joined part of the Pooch Patrol. What are they first? Oasis or whatever. They joined the Pound Patrol. And he was with the alpha males to some degree. But he never really was one of them, although he did win a few competitions. But I think that's about right. He was worried that he might come across as too energetic. No, I don't see that with Turner. I never, watching this season, never thought, Turner, guy's so full of energy. How's he even going to contain himself? Not so much on that one. The rest of his preseason impression wise, I think is pretty good. Not so much the energetic part. My prediction, I thought Turner was going to go home early jury. He lasted to number 3. So props to you for of everyone that was in this house. I just maybe want to say Turner's the one who surprised me the most. I underestimated him. I got lured in by this talk about being a floater, being kind of a lost person, about van life, being laid back. And I thought he was not just taking it seriously enough. Turner surprised me more than anyone else in the game. And I love to be surprised. I love to be proven wrong in these assessments. All right, next one that we had. Second place. He didn't think it was going to happen. I know he didn't think that when he made his final choice, but Monty came in second place. I only had one word to describe Monty when I saw his interview and read his deal. Friendly. He had a smile on him. I just thought this is going to be the charismatic guy in this house. Well, maybe charismatic guy. I don't know. He just struck me as a very friendly individual. I figured he's going to be a comp beast. Just because I knew he was a personal trainer. He didn't show that in the first of the season. I think that was smart. Second half of the season, he turned it on. He won a lot of these comps when he needed to, but not just the athletic types. He won that math fest. So yeah, he was a comp beast, but winning a lot of different kinds of competitions. He figured people are just going to stereotype him as just a guy who likes to work out. I think people saw a little bit more to him than that. He also said he didn't like people who overshared, and he liked to keep information quiet. There you go. I would use this to describe Monty after getting to know him over the last 3.5 months or so, 3 months, I guess. Quiet, not sharing a lot of information. Monty wasn't the one who was throwing out all kinds of info and going back and forth with a lot of people. He was a little bit pulled back. He was letting other people do the dirty work. He was just sitting there trying as best he could to keep his hands clean, not get in a lot of trouble, letting people give him the information instead of the other way around. I think he did pretty good of describing himself as such. I did point out and think that Monty most definitely could have some showman's potential in this house. Well, it was a fairly short-lived showmance. It wasn't throughout the whole season. But it was right there at the end. And so there were certainly some intense moments, short as they may be. Not as short as Kyle's, but a whole different topic. Short moments of the showmance he did that. My prediction for Monty, I predicted Monty finishing not only in the top 5, in the top 2 or 3. So, yeah, I thought he was going to do well in the game, and he certainly did. And now we get to the very end. The winner of Big Brother Season 24, a well-deserved victory. I didn't think she was going to do it at the end. I thought she was going to get left behind. She figured out a way to get Monty to take her to the final 2. Once she started giving a speech, hey, it was over at that point. Hey, Monty went first, but it wouldn't have mattered. Taylor did it with the speech. She did it with her characters that season. The winner of Big Brother 24, Taylor. So how did I think Taylor was going to do? Well, I did point out that she had said she was going to let people think that she was stupid, only there for a showmance. I think that almost caught up to her at the beginning. She was so busy trying to make it look like she was going for a showmance. I think she created some jealousy with a lot of the girls in this house. That scene of her hanging out with the guys playing pool while all the girls were on the other side, a dangerous game to play, and it almost caught up to her. But she figured out how to survive those first few weeks. She got in with the leftovers. She had some people who actually seemed to have her back and vice versa. Her story arc, amazing story arc for Taylor this season. But she thought she was going to let people think she was just there for the showmance. She had a showmance, but gotta say, I never thought that her seriousness about that showmance was anywhere close to the amount of seriousness that maybe Alyssa and Kyle were showing for the other showmance in the season. I thought it was very much a calculated move, and hey, more power to you. She said she was there for a bit of a showmance, and it worked. She said that she wanted to work with good strategists, but not be one herself because the strategists tend to go home. Man, she had the strategy. It's not just the speech. It's the way she came in trying to play the game. I think this is pretty smart that she did that. She had, think of who she was aligned with. Her tightest connection was probably Michael and Brittany, right? Michael, the biggest comp beast. Brittany, a strategist, always going over scenarios. Taylor was kind of riding along with the two of them, letting them control a lot of game while she controlled it from behind. Even with the leftovers, she was letting other people within the leftovers very much call the shots in the beginning while she was just there. She had her support people to protect her, but she wasn't really the alpha person calling the shots. It's exactly what she said she was going to do going into the season. So not only did Taylor play a great game to get to the end, but she actually had some of this figured out going into the season. So props to her for having a game plan that she wanted to do. Again, I think it almost cost her in the beginning, but she figured it out after a while. Her HOH that she had, that first one, not the cleanest HOH ever. It wasn't a perfect game, nowhere close to a perfect game, but she had the ideas of what she needed to do. She played the game. She made it to the end, and so congratulations to Taylor. I said that it seemed like she'd been a longtime Big Brother fan based on some of the comments she made, I think so. But she figured out a slightly different way maybe to play and win. I did say that with Taylor, I thought that her talking about maybe portraying that she wanted to be in a showmance to everyone else was going to lead to an actual showmance. And that happened as well. So, that definitely one of the two showmances in there. Predictions in terms of final finish. I said that I thought Taylor could easily be top 2. I thought there was a possibility that she could win the whole thing. And I was right. Yeah, I knew she was going to do fantastic. She, her background in beauty pageants, just the way she was approaching the game, I thought there was something to be said for that. So there you have it, guys. Now, the beauty of these things, I'd hate to think I predicted everything 100%. Well, it'd be pretty cool if I did. But as I said before, I like the idea that we all go in, we make all these mistakes, assumptions, stereotypes about how someone's going to play this game based just on a picture and 2 minutes worth of conversation. And I like the fact that there's so many people who surprise us. I went in and tallied up how many did I get right? Did I call them placing in the right bracket? I got 8 out of 16. I'm 500. I'm 50%. I'm pretty good with that. It doesn't sound like it as I went through all those, but I'm actually 8 for 8, and I'm pretty good with that. I like saying that's what I love about Big Brother. The fact that someone can come in, we think that we know exactly how this game's going to be played by them. We make assumptions about them based on what we see right here behind us, and then they prove us wrong. It's the best part about Big Brother, because that's really how you shouldn't make those assumptions in real life anymore than you make in a Big Brother house. So it's just a nice little example of life in the real world. A whole lot more cutthroat and horrific inside the Big Brother house. But there you have it, guys. I just thought it'd be fun to compare what I thought going in to what I thought coming out. And I love the season. It was a blast. I'm ready for Big Brother 20. I'm going to take a nap first. Then I'm ready for Big Brother 25. Guys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for all the support throughout the season. I look forward to seeing you all again next year. Until then, SKD 143. Cheers, my friends.